I'ma skip town, see my wrist drown. Everybody wanna me for benefits now. Man, I wish my money could've seen me.
Yo, what is good, everybody? My name is the Coaster King, and today I'm going through my 2021 predictions for Cedar Fair parks. I'm going to start off with some of the smaller parks and make my way up to the bigger ones, and hopefully we'll see some new additions in the 2021 season. But before I start that, I just want to get some things out of the way. So as you can see on this screen, one of the major things, the budget cuts that Cedar Fair is doing, is cutting capital expenditures by 75 million to 100 million over the next 2 years, meaning the capital expenditures are largely going to be coming from 2021 additions to 2022 additions. So when you think about that, 75 to 100 million dollars a year, that's about per year like an Orion and a half. And considering Orion was the only roller coaster Cedar Fair added last year, they're just gonna be putting in small rides into these parks and not really dumping too much money into it, considering this whole coronavirus situation. Um, Not only that is a glaring issue in their financials, but they've also delayed their dividends. It's the first time they've done it in 11 years, I believe, since 2009, and that's obviously a very bad sign from coming from an investor's point of view. If companies delaying their dividends, they don't have the cash available on hand, and they're just not looking too good financially. So now that we've got that established, one thing to understand is that these editions, as well as the 2022 editions, are likely going to be cut in half of what they wanted to do. So Cedar Fair was supposed to go very aggressive during 2021 editions, but I think it's going to be cut in half of all that capital expenditures, and it would hopefully cut some money and give them the budget cuts that they need. So the first park on my list here is Michigan's Adventure. I think they're going to get some park improvements. Probably nothing. They just got a new addition last year with the plant Snoopies, I believe. This is another park that Cedar Fair is not going to care about in this situation. It doesn't bring in really any money for them, and they care more about parks like Cedar Point or Kings Island rather than a Michigan's Adventure, who's not going to bring in too much revenue. So once again, so Cedar Fair is not going to add too much to it. That goes along with the Valley Fair. I think it's going to be just some park improvements, possibly even nothing. Um, these parks are just not bringing in too much money for Cedar Fair. So Cedar Fair, when they have very limited expenditures to put into the parks, they're not going to look to these ones first. They're going to look to the parks that are actually bringing in the money for them. So that's why I think these first couple parks are really not going to get anything for the next season. Once again, going with the park improvement chain, Worlds of Fun is not going to get anything for the next season. Once again, another park doesn't bring in too much money. It's a little better than Michigan's Adventure and Valley Fair, but still not bringing in nearly as much as they would like them to in these upcoming seasons. So I think Cedar Fair is going to hold off from putting additions into parks like Worlds of Fun for the next 2 years, and hopefully they'll get something after. This next one, Dorney Park, is probably going to get some controversial comments, but I think they're going to get a family ride. And I know there's a shuttle coaster that's been rumored heavily, and there's even been like a leaked um, format of the ride, format layout. And I think that Dorney Park is going to be pushed back on their new coaster to the 2022 season. And the reason I say that is because the destruction of Possessed, which is where it's rumored to be going, as well as the new ride, is going to be extremely expensive. You're probably looking at around $20 million. If that's cutting up a huge amount of money for them, that's probably like a fifth of what they can add to older parks, and adding it to a smaller park like Dorney would not be the best decision for them. So that's why I think they're going to push it back to 2022 rather than keep it in 2021. I know this is not the analysis you guys want to hear, but I think that's what's unfortunately going to happen. I do think Possessed will be taken out during the 2020 season just to leave room for the 2022 edition, which is going to be the Shuttle Coaster. But for now, they're probably going to get a family ride, maybe something like the Valley Fair Park got, like a spinning ride, a small ride, just overall a smaller edition. Another bummer, California's Great America, I think, is additionally going to get a family ride. I think they're going to get something like a spinning ride that came to Valley Fair, or another smaller park that's been coming to some of the other parks in the recent years. possibly even like a thrill ride like a Zamperla Endeavor. I'm not sure if they have one, but a thrill ride like the one that came at Kings Dominion. And the elephant in the room is the hyper coaster that's been heavily rumored for this park. Once again, hypercoasters are extremely expensive, especially from B&M. So is Cedar Fair going to go out of their way to add something probably worth a quarter of their all of their additions just to this park? I don't think it'll happen. California's Great America got a coaster, what, 2-3 years ago with Railblazer. So why would they add in another coaster? They go extremely aggressive with this park when they don't necessarily need to. The revenues are going to be down. They're not doing well financially, as seen by their stock prices and their dividends. So you have to take a look and think that, all right, this park is not going to get the hyper that they wanted, and it'll probably get pushed back 1, possibly even 2 years, just because of the extreme budget cuts that it has to do. Now for Canada's Wonderland, I think they're going to get a Zamperla Endeavor or another thrill ride. This park just recently got the Yukon Striker, so Cedar Fair is not going to go overly aggressive in these times to add a new ride into Canada's Wonderland. Um, I think Yukon Striker looks like a really good ride. I've always wanted to go on it. It's been a bucket list coaster since I saw it. So I just don't think that they're going to be extremely aggressive and force in a new addition when they know that they're low on money, low on revenue, and thus low on profits. Once again, so this park is going to bring in a lot of revenue, so that's why I'm going to be a thrill coaster rather than nothing. But they're just trying to save money and hopefully get out of this coronavirus situation in one piece. As for Carowinds, I don't think they're going to be getting anything excessively large. Just like Canada's Wonderland, they do bring in a lot of money, and um, they did recently get that new coaster. But I just don't see anything big coming to the park. I'm thinking a Husk Frisbee or something small along the lines of that, a small thrill ride, or maybe even a family ride. Once again, just keeping along the theme of saving money and really trying to conserve expenditures in the biggest way possible. Carowinds does bring in a lot of money, so I do understand why it's going to be not going to be nothing added to the parks, but I do think it's not going to be anything excessively large, and I think a thrill ride would fit that mold. For Kings Dominion, I think the biggest addition in the Cedar Fair chain is going to be coming a B&M Wing Coaster. There has been a leaked layout. I don't know how valid it is, and people are definitely upset about the length of it. But if you look at the length, I think it would make sense to come in 2021. I think they would purposely cut it out and make it a little shorter of a ride so that it's less expensive and they can fit it in their 2021 budget. The ride There is no wing coaster in the nearby area, so Kings Dominion definitely has that going for it, and I think that it'll be a great fit for the park. Um, One thing is that people are saying maybe it's not for 2021, but I do think it is. Once again, it's a shorter ride, so it would make sense that they're making it shorter, so then they can add it for 2021 rather than push it back. It would probably be somewhere around like 15-20 million dollar range. So it would cut a huge hole in the total amount of additions, but someone's got to take up the additions, right? There's got to be at least one coaster out of the year, you would think. So I think that's what's going to come to Kings Dominion. I look forward to going on this ride. It looks to be a decent ride and looks to be a good addition to the Kings Dominion lineup. For Kings Island, they just got Orion. Everybody knows that. Their new Giga was $30 million. So why would they add anything new? I think they're getting a water park expansion, maybe new slide complex or something like that. They're not like Six Flags. They don't just add the water coasters everywhere. But I feel like it's just going to be a smaller water park edition. They could probably find something decently cool. This park does bring in a lot of money as well. So they're not going to add nothing, but just nothing excessively large. For Knott's Berry Farm, I actually predicted to be a Larson Superloop. Cedar Fair is starting to like to put these in, not as much as Six Flags, but they definitely are starting to put these in places. And Knott's Berry Farm, this should be a decent budget coaster for them, a good thrill ride. It's not a coaster, it's a thrill ride. And I think it'd just be a decent addition for the park, not too expensive, and it would fit in their budget decently well. I guess they're gonna beat Magic Mountain to the punch with the Superloop because Magic Mountain's probably gonna get a Superloop eventually because it's in the Six Flags chain. That's what they do. But we'll find out. And lastly, for Cedar Point, I think it's gonna be a thrill ride. The thrill ride that I was thinking is the King's Dominion one, the one that I got a few years ago. I don't know what the model's called, but it does look kind of crazy. Cedar Point does not have that strong of a flat ride um, collection as I would think they would, considering their coaster collection. So they can definitely use a giant thrill ride like the one that King's Dominion got. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they don't have a Zamperla Endeavor. Maybe they can get one of those. I would hope not a Superloop, but you never know. So Cedar Point just probably a thrill ride, and it's just gonna be a new addition to their thrill ride collection and overall flat ride collection. That's it. Let me guys know. Let me know in the comment section what videos you guys want me to do next. I'll see you guys next time.
I'ma skip town, see my wrist drown. Everybody wanna me for benefits now, man. I wish my money.